Hi everybody, it's Sarah in her kitchen, and I'm getting ready to make some biscuits, and I'm going to go over the recipe first. And I'm using 2.5 cups of self-rising flour. Okay, to that I'm going to add 1 1/4 cup of buttermilk, and I've grated a complete stick of butter, and I put that in the freezer for 15 minutes, but it's been in there longer, but you need to at least freeze it for 15 minutes, and it kind of leaves it in shreds. I don't use Crisco, no, and this is all pasture-raised, pasture-fed cows where this butter comes from, so that's a good thing. And also 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I used my Celtic sea salt. And actually I put a little bit more because flour has no flavor. Now the butter is going to give it flavor, and so is the salt. So I actually did more than a 1/2 teaspoon. I did more like a teaspoon. So you be the judge of that. And that's your recipe. That's it. But I made this before, and I decided that for me, you don't have to do this, but for me, even though it's self-rising flour, I took and added a pinch more of baking soda and also a pinch of baking powder. So I'm going to add that to the mix. So we're going to stir that around a little bit. And you can use your hands, but I've learned too, I don't have to use my hands in this. But I'm going to make a well. And I'm going to put in my butter. Let's use this to do that. It's really frozen. And that's good. You want it to be cold. I've got my oven preheating at 425. You can hear it in the background. Okay. That's that. So I'm just going to mix this up a little bit with my spoon. I like this spoon. See how flat the top is? Comes in handy for a lot of things, especially whenever you need to scrape things from your skillet. So that was a good thing. So I've got the salt and everything mixed in. I've got the little shreds of the butter. That was 1 whole stick of butter. The 2.5 cups of self-rising flour, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And now I'm going to add 1 1/4 cup of my buttermilk. I'm making a well, and I'm going to pour that right down in there. Okay. So I'm just going to go around the edges and pull that flour into the center until it gets everything nice and moist. Just keep going around and around the bowl. And some people will take and put Crisco in here. I don't want to use Crisco anymore. You know, that was the olden days. We think too much of our health and don't want clogged arteries. So we're going to use real good butter. But you can use what you want. And then I don't grease my pan either. Some people will grease their skillet. I use parchment paper, and I found that to be really helpful. But I forgot one thing here. Let me pull this out. I like to have all my things pre-done before I get on here, but I actually forgot about, I want some melted butter because I always like to baste the tops of them with melted butter. So let's put this up here while we mix this and make the biscuits. So you can see where it's now. I'm going to have to get in here. Scrape that down a little bit. I've got my cutter ready to go, and it's sitting in flour. And I'm going to spread some flour on my cutting board. I love this wooden cutting board. It's a Bose cutting board. It's just beautiful. I just love it. So anyway, we spread, let me see if you're down here. And we're just going to pull these out on here onto the floured surface. And remember, we have all that butter in there, so it's going to all come together here. Let me tilt you down here so you can see. There. So see, we're just gonna, it's nice and cold. And some people will use a rolling pin. I don't want to do a rolling pin. And I'm just barely going to knead it just a few times. Some people will use a rolling pin. They'll cut it in thirds and then lay it on top and layer it like that, and that's okay too. There's different ways of doing it. You do it your way. I'm showing you my way. I made these the other day and they turned out really beautiful. So I thought, well, let me get on here and show my friends. For those who want to learn how to make biscuits, you saw how easy that mix was. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to flatten this out. I've got my pan over here lined with parchment paper. Okay, and I've got my cutter. I'm just going to go in and cut them. Go in and just form them. It's that simple. They'll come out nice and fluffy. Just keep going around, making your biscuits. It's a perfect time of the year to have some biscuits and gravy. I was raised on gravy, but I don't remember Mom making biscuits though. I'm sure she probably did. I just don't remember it. I remember her making tons of pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving and Christmas over at the Hoosier cabinet. That I remember. That was such a cool cabinet too. You put your flour up in the top of it, and then it had a built-in sifter that you cranked. See, just bring that dough back together, flatten it out, and make more biscuits. And you'll see, you'll be able to get all the dough. Yeah, another easy thing to make are homemade noodles and homemade fettuccine. We'll do a video on that as well. And I think we're going to get one last one, so we used up every bit of that dough. There we go. Okay, let me clean my hands a little bit. And into the oven these will go at 425. I'm going to set them for 8 minutes, and I'll probably have to put them back on for a couple more minutes, but I burned too many of them to not do it this way. So over to the Breville, they're going at 425. See how I always forget to do this? I told you I want to brush it with melted butter, and that's what I'm going to do. Then when they come out, I'm going to have some more melted butter, and I'm going to brush them again with melted butter, and then I'm going to sprinkle some of my sea salt flakes on them. That's a little special thing right there. That'll bump them up a notch. So I'm going to put these in. I'll be back after they have a chance to bake, and I'll show you the finished product. I'm going to put them in. We're going to go for 8 minutes. There it is, 8 minutes. And I'll be back. Okay, we're going to take the biscuits out. It's been 12 minutes, total of 12 minutes. Look at this. Look here. Beautiful. So now, I've got my melted butter. And you know, you let the butter, the heat of the butter, melt the rest of the butter once you get it going. So I'm just going to brush some more melted butter on them. Now if you wanted to, you could even put sesame seed on top of these. Some people do that. I'm not going to do that, but you can do it. They're your biscuits. You do whatever you want. You can make some sausage gravy, cut them open and just put them with butter, cut them open and drizzle honey over top of them. Cut them open and put some jelly and jam on them. The next day you can cut them open, cut them open, put them in the, well, I would put them in my Breville on toast and toast them. And they get nice and crunchy, and they're just delicious that way as well. It's almost like a crouton. Okay, while that's still there, let me sprinkle on some of my sea flakes, my sea salt flakes. And look at that. Let's look at this. Look at the bottom. See? And it just comes out perfect. So let's cut this open. You can see the steam coming off of it. See that steam? Can you see that? Yes, you can. I can see that. Take the butter. Put some butter on them. Should have gotten my honey out, but I will later. But anyway. Hear that crunch? That's good. I love the crunch. And you know, the butter in there and that salt, it gives it so much flavor. Try doing that instead of doing Crisco. Don't use Crisco. Use butter. Good butter. So there you have it, my friends. I hope you make some biscuits. Tomorrow morning just might be biscuits and gravy for me. It's winter time. These are comfort foods. I don't eat like this all the time, but once in a while, it's okay. All right? See you in the next video. Take care. Bye.